Welcome to the Decent Crypto Podcast. I have so much energy right now. It is Tuesday, November 8th. Matthew Blumberg, how are you doing? Anything to talk about today?
Welcome to FOME, brought to you by Binance.
Welcome to the Decent Crypto Podcast, brought to you by Binance. Matt, dude,
represent. Look, dude, I went into therapy like this morning. I come back
because of the news.
I come back 60 minutes later to a new world order.
It's like, really. So many people have been texting me, all my normie friends. Shout out, you know who you are. And
you have normie
just
friends?
Like anybody who's not on this podcast, I just consider a normie friend, you know. So just literally just like, holy shit, what the fuck? Is this real? What's going on? So and then just the blast of memes. It's been one of the highest punch packing meme days that I've seen in a long time.
I've barely even caught up. I mean, literally, I got out of therapy. I was like, wow, that was helpful. What a great session. And then I get this text from you, and it's like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, wait, that must mean like that must be big. I'm like, gotta open up Twitter. The
funniest part was seeing the text come in slowly from you. Like, first it was the question mark to my text. And then it was like, wait, FTT? And then it was like, wait, what the fuck? This is huge. And then it was like, wow, dude, I can't believe this. Like, yeah.
We had to do an emergency episode.
So should we tell the people what actually happened?
Yeah, please. You're more tuned into it than I am. Let's hear.
I was gonna say it's time to open up Twitter because I guess nobody really knows what actually happened. Let's go straight to the source. Let's go to SBF's Twitter first. Mm-hmm. Then we'll go to CZ's Twitter. Because they both said, they just tweeted each other. So SBF says, hey all, I have a few announcements to make. Things have come full circle, and FTX.com's first and last investors are the same. We have come to an agreement on a strategic transition with Binance for FTX.com, pending due diligence, etc., etc. And then he goes on to the tweet thread. So then he says, tweet number 2, our teams are working on clearing out the withdrawal backlog as is. This will clear out liquidity crunches. All assets will be covered one-to-one. This is one of the main reasons we've asked Binance to come in. It may take a bit to settle, etc. We apologize for that. What he's alluding to here is that people have not been able to withdraw their funds.
Yeah, they were initially not able to withdraw their funds, and then this tweet I think came out like exactly an hour later. Right, they were pretty quick. And I mean, people have been monitoring the hot wallets all weekend long, right? Or know, for the last couple of days, right? So, there was some talk of like one of the hot wallets being out of USDC, one of the hot wallets I think running out of ETH, and then I think they were slowing withdrawals, and then I think they had to pause them, and people just don't want to get Celsius, right? Like, there's a question of like, okay, how much do they have in their cold wallets, which is not necessarily like public info, right? Like hot wallets are easy to track because you can see, as the tokens come in and out, you can just track it on chain, right? But for cold storage, it's much harder to know. So they paused withdrawals, and then it would appear that some kind of liquidity crunch, right? And then they've since resumed withdrawals, or they were working with Binance to resume withdrawals. What's going on?
So they're basically it seems like there's some kind of gap. There's like some kind of gap in funds. It's not really clear what is causing this liquidity crunch. Right. So let's now go to CZ's Twitter, where he has also tweeted about this blessed event. I'll finish out the SBF thing. Number 3, the important thing is that customers are protected. Nice. Number 4, huge thank you to CZ, Binance, and all of our supporters. This is like the tweet that I'm sure CZ made him write. It's like watching over his shoulder. This is a user-centric development that benefits the entire industry. CZ has done and will continue to do an incredible job of building out the global crypto ecosystem and creating a freer economic world. He's bending the knee. I know that there have been rumors in media of conflict between our two exchanges. However, Binance has shown time and time again that they're committed to a more decentralized fuck off. Last point, note that FTX US and Binance US, two separate companies, are not impacted by this. FTX US withdrawals are and have been live, is backed 1-to-1 and operating normally. That last sentence is a little concerning. Like, are you saying FTX.com?
It was not what?
Withdrawals are not live, they're not back to one, and they're not operating normally? Like, that's concerning, brother.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Let's now go to CZ's Twitter. A little bit of a different story. Honestly, dude, I just love this guy. This is so funny. Tweet number 1. This afternoon, FTX asked for our help. Nice. There is a significant liquidity crunch. Nice. To protect users, we signed a non-binding LOI intending to fully acquire FTX.com and help cover the liquidity crunch. We will be conducting a full DD in the coming days. Then he just links to FTX.com. Oh, because that was in the tweet. Next tweet. In true CZ form, there's a lot to cover and will take some time. This is a highly dynamic situation, and we are assessing the situation in real time. Binance has the discretion to pull out from the deal at any time. We expect FTT to be highly volatile in the coming days as things develop. Third tweet. This is the best of all time. Stay #Safu. Nice. Fourth tweet. He just quotes SBF's tweet. So that is all the information. Like, there's no other details. There's
speaking of quote tweet, did you see Do Kwon retweeted it with with someone bending the knee or something?
yeah, it was like a Game of Thrones kind of situation. Somebody's bending the knee. It was hilarious.
And wait, what is this? Somebody, I see some FUD quote, FTX sold for $1 ? Exclamation point. Can we get a source on this?
No, absolutely can't get a source on that. I have no idea where that's coming from. FTX sold for $1. Oh my god! Wow, dude, come on, bro. We got to keep our listeners safe here. This is the Decent Crypto Pod. We can't be spreading FUD.
Right. But what if it's true?
I mean, look.
How much did BlockFi sell for?
I mean, I think
it wasn't much.
More than $1.
It was definitely FTX negative equity value.
So here's the thing, right? In the coming days, here's the thing I'm very curious about. In the coming days, we're going to find out, or I don't know what we'll find out, but we'll find out some stuff, hopefully, about the relationship between FTX and Alameda, right? How much of the funds, or like where the funds, how the funds are moving back and forth, like really like what the relationship is there. Like, are they prop trading with FTX or like with client money? Like, I don't think anybody has said that, but like, we know for sure that Alameda is levered and they have a ton of their balance sheet in FTT and other Solana ecosystem shitcoins, which are now going in the complete dump. FTT, they made an offer to CZ to buy it for $22 yesterday, and it was completely stable at $22, and then now it's at 15. So it's completely nosedived.
BNB meanwhile,
BNB has done the exact opposite.
It's up 8%. I mean,
it was up way more, and
like
now it's
single
like,
candle. It was at 378.
It went up
now it's at 362.
Yeah, it went up like 10 to 12% in one candle, and then it came back down. But
I mean, possibly because they're acquiring FTX with potentially a hole in the balance sheet, right?
Yeah, exactly. So somebody texted me like, "Hey, are they getting a pretty fat discount on this?" I was like, "Well, I mean, first of all, we don't know what the balance sheet looks like for either, and like I'm assuming Alameda is not involved in this at all, right? Like they're not touching anything to do with Alameda. But it's like we'll find out like something about like how FTT's market making operations, like were taking place, I guess. So yeah, I like, how much is FTX worth at this point if the main market maker was Alameda, who's now got a massive debt problem or whatever it is, and then if they were supporting FTX, like broadly speaking, and then the value of their balance sheet is going down more and more, like in real time, Like what does that mean? So I don't know, a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, the markets are not loving it. So ETH is down. ETH is down, I think, like 3 or 4% since we started recording this podcast 10 minutes ago.
No way. Oh wait,
yeah,
really?
yeah,
What's
it's at like 14.50 now. It was at like 15.10 before. Yeah, like fully.
Interesting. Wow, this is some volatility here.
Yeah, I mean, well, everybody saw what happened during the deleveraging in May, right? And you got to think that there's a fair amount of deleveraging that's going to have to come about as a result of this, right? So the question is, like, like if, for example, if FTX was providing leverage to certain players, right, and it gets acquired, like maybe those players have to delever. Maybe Binance is like ruling with a bit like stricter of an iron fist, right? Maybe they're not willing to provide the same like margin terms to a player like Alameda as FTX was. So now you're like, okay, what's on Alameda's balance sheet? I don't know, but it can't be good for the market. And so, the question is like, what's the contagion going to be at this point?
So somebody on Twitter made this point that a ton of crypto startups, like just assuming FTX to be, completely safe, they had their like treasuries on FTX, like a good portion of their treasuries on FTX.
Wow.
Like I saw a tweet from a guy who's not even like this guy Haralabob, who is like, Bitcoin OG, tons of money, and like, big background in like poker, sports gambling, all this kind of stuff. He was saying like, pretty plugged in guy. He's saying that I have a seller who wants to sell his entire FTX account, like of large size, for 93 cents on the dollar.
Oh shit.
And then somebody responded like, yo, is this still like live? Like, can I still make a bid here? And this is right before we started recording at like 12:30-ish p.m. Eastern. And he was like, yes, you can still make the bid.
Wow.
So yeah. Super interesting, man. I thought that after the Binance news, people would generally be okay with it, right? Like, Binance will step in, they'll make up the gap. Or maybe the concern for somebody like this is Binance goes in, they start their due diligence, and they realize that there's a massive hole in the balance sheet or something like that, And that's why people are trying to get rid of their accounts.
I mean, yeah, the fact that it's pending due diligence is like, it's expected, but it's not great. Dude, apparently Do Kwon is on Up Only right now.
Oh my God, we recorded at the wrong time. Suzu also tweeted at him. He said GM. But I don't know if he's actually live.
Suzu is back. Do Kwon is back. FTX Kwon is back. Holy shit.
If Suzu and Do Kwon are both on Up Only, we might just have to cancel the podcast and just go to Up Only.
Yeah.
No. So, okay, let's now talk about the Binance part of this, because this is now like they're the only player, right? Like everybody's making the Monopoly Man joke about CZ, but it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at futures, which is all of the volume, like, I don't know. Do you have a take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think my take on this is like, man, Coinbase looking better and better, man. Like, none of these shenanigans, at least so far, like what made FTX so much more vulnerable than Coinbase?
Well, I think FTX, they're playing a different game, right? They're not like, they're trying to play this like degen futures, like literally any kind of asset, go fully levered on it. You'll have a market. Like, they were one of the biggest books for the Trump bet, for like, they'll make markets for anything. They'll make markets for presidential elections. They'll make them for crypto futures. They'll make them for, they're getting into stocks. So it's just a whole different ballgame. If you want to do all that stuff in America, you need so many different kinds of licenses, which they were not pursuing. They weren't interested in them. They're based in the Bahamas. It's definitely a different game they're playing. I mean, they have FTX US, they have Binance US. Those are both unaffected, and those are both also irrelevant. But like, I think as a global player, I think FTX was really picking up. And I guess now that I'm talking through it, the FTX part is not even that interesting to me. The part that's more interesting to me is the Solana piece. Because what happens to Solana now? Like their main boy, their like flagship, like, VC, like, whatever. Like he's like Wonderkind is now. I mean, obviously
I'll
is
your
a founder.
Solana for $3, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's trading down. It was at 30 the other day. It's at 26 now.
It's not bad, actually.
I mean,
I would assume 27. It would be lower.
It's at 27 when we started recording the podcast 15 minutes ago.
Things move fast, I guess. Yeah.
Look, what happens to the Solana ecosystem, right? What about like Serum? Remember Mega Serum?
I do remember Mega Serum.
If you buy 10,000 Serum, you get lunch with FTX or with SBF is the idea. What happens to the US elections? I mean, how much cash does SBF actually have? And how much of his net worth was tied up in illiquid FTX equity?
Yeah, it's a good question.
What happens to regulations, right? Like, is there spillover there? You got to think that, like, here's a question. Okay. Has SBF just been having the world's worst couple of weeks, right? Does he go on to like Bankless to like record his like debate about like the future of DeFi and whether or not front ends need to be permissioned, knowing full well that he's got like a large hole in his balance sheet that like he may need CZ to step in and like acquire him for? Or like, is this just like coincidental happenstance? Like, and like what precipitated this? Was it the Alameda balance sheet and just the sheer amount of FTT that they had?
Dude, what precipitated this is his dumbass tweet a few days ago where he's saying like, oh, it's so nice to see CZ actually like lobbying people in DC and representing the industry well. And then adds in this stupid snarky line about, but wait, he can actually go to DC, right? It's like, nice, dude, nice. Way to piss off a guy who's just brutal. A lot more powerful and rich than you are and playing in the exact same industry. Nice, bro. I mean, look, man. Yeah, I there's a lot of implications that we just have no idea about right now. And I'm actually very curious, initially speaking, like, is Binance actually going to go through with this deal? Right.
That's a great question.
Like if you look at CZ's kind of playbook the last couple of days, he got the offer to buy it at $22, right? The price tanks. Everybody's like shitting on him. They're like, oh, CZ, like he fumbled the bag here. He's like, no, I'll just buy the whole thing, but do it for way lower. Now,
well, yeah,
what I would assume happens.
It was weird, right? Because he was like, going straight into Twitter saying, here is my intent. I'm going to sell $500 million worth of FTT into which is basically all the liquid FTT, right? Into the open market, right? And it's at what, $24 at this point. And Alameda comes in, they're like, we'll buy it for 22. And he doesn't even accept it. He's like, I'm willing to take an even lower price to send a fucking message.
I mean, he doesn't even acknowledge it. He doesn't even acknowledge it. But so here's my take on what's going to happen now is I think they start looking into the books. They start finding some stuff, whatever they find. I'm sure there's something that at least looks questionable, right? And I assume that we start seeing some leaks, some like news leaks or something about how broken this is or whatever. And then the value keeps plummeting. Like FTT keeps going down. Everything else that's on their balance sheet keeps going down. Like, basically like it's just going to be a slow bleed for a little bit. And then,
I mean, yeah. Do you think CZ like effectively spent 500 million to acquire FTX?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically, like, it's possible, right? There's this whole crazy conspiracy that I was looking at that the amount that they are selling, basically, like, this thing was saying that, like, the BNB hack that happened a few months ago it's like kind of matches the exact same amount that they're selling the FTT for, or like the amount of FTT that they're selling, and like kind of tying it back into like Alameda being the hacker. I was like, oh, this is wild.
That's a great conspiracy. Wow.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah, so I don't know, man. Just an insane day. I feel like we've been pretty incoherent. Like we're just kind of gathering our thoughts.
We're
here.
just talking. Yeah.
We
okay.
really have no idea.
Price target for Sol.
Ooh, I mean, come on. It's got a
tomorrow. 24-hour price target for Sol. It's 26 now.
So
yeah,
I would say it does bleed more, like 20, $22, 21, 22-ish, 23-ish, something like that.
I'll go under 20.
You go under 20 within 24 hours. Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Nice,
I mean,
dude.
look at what happened to Avalanche when 3 Arrows went under.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's true.
How
much did it go down? Like 50%?
Yeah, it was about 50%. Yeah.
That's wild. Okay.
So under 20,
I would say
50% move.
I would say that in the next few months we could see it being testing the SBF level again. $3.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Sol, right, is like it's there's no fee market, right? As we discussed on our deep dive, we'll link it in the show notes if we remember. But like, you know, you've never needed to buy more Sol to pay gas. Like after the first time you needed Sol to pay gas, or unless you like fucked it up and like accidentally swapped all of your Sol for something else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which like we've all been there. Damn, dude, ETH is tanking now, 1430.
Oh baby.
Yeah, it was
all
1500.
Right, you might win this one. $20.
Dude, I think FTX having to sell to Binance, even if their balance sheet doesn't have a large hole in it, is going to shake market conviction bigger than we would have thought. I think that this is that double dip, right? I think this is where the market turmoil really goes into gear, and we see 3-digit ETH again, please, and we see, you know, I don't know where, like, Bitcoin doesn't care, right? I love this about Bitcoin. It's just like, no matter what's going on in the market, Bitcoin doesn't give a fuck. ETH's not 1400.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Wait, how is ETH moving so much and Sol is like not moving as much?
I don't know. It's probably because I'm looking at the live feed on ETH and not the live feed on Sol.
Yeah, fair. Dude, what a time.
You know, what a time to be alive, man.
Yeah. Okay, so I think to your last point, I think it really, like, the impact on the market of this event will really depend on the facts that come out around FTX's status, right? Like, do they have a hole in their balance sheet?
Are they solvent?
Are they solvent is the big question. Like, also a lot of this will come down to customer, like experience, kind of like how
Safety
long do they hold withdrawals? Yeah, like are funds SAFU? I think the worst outcome here is if Binance looks at this and they're like, yo, not something we're trying to touch. Like, we're okay with our equity, because the reason they're even stepping in is because they have a big equity portion in FTX. They were the first investor. They're now basically making an investment to buy the whole thing, right? So it's like, right, like, this is, yeah, like if they look at it and they're like, we're just down to have our equity portion go under or be devalued significantly, like, that's the worst case outcome.
I mean, were they still holding equity? I thought that CZ's tweet implied that they sold their equity to FTX in exchange for FTT and some,
that's
some
right.
dollars.
That's right. That's right.
Like, I don't think they're still bag holding.
That's true, but I guess they still are bag holding FTT, which is it's still a lot of exposure. Which they said they're planning to sell, but I mean, they're obviously not going to do that now. So,
I wonder how much they got executed.
Yeah, I know. Probably nothing, right? I mean, I would assume at this point the whole thing was just deployed to tank it and then buy the whole thing, right?
Buy the dip, yeah.
And I think now it's like, I think this thing gets way worse for FTX's valuation, right? Like if they were going to get bought out for whatever amount, like 10 billion, let's say was the valuation, like it's going to be half that or something.
What was FTX's last valuation? It was really fucking big. Remember when they were going to buy Goldman?
It was 40 billion. Yeah, 40 billion.
40
yeah,
billion.
He's like, yeah, we could buy Goldman Sachs. Yeah, $32 billion in September.
Holy shit.
That was their valuation. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
You think Binance gets the naming rights on all the stadiums?
So this is also super interesting. Like, you know, the funniest part was they're like, oh, it looks like Binance now has a man in DC.
Yeah.
But the naming rights are super interesting. You know, Ledger of Up Only, he was tweeting this morning. He was like, well, I guess it's time to find out who sponsors my podcast now. He looked at the contract and it was like, Blockfolio Incorporated or something. Like, okay. Like 2 acquisitions ago.
Well, yeah, remember? Yeah,
of course.
You got a Blockfolio swap right there. That was their thing. You can go like crypto to crypto or whatever. And
you can check the price and trade. Insane. So, I mean, I'm sure this is going to be part 1 of this whole saga, because we're going to find out a lot more as things develop. But do you have any parting thoughts for the people, Matt?
You know, I'm just, I hope everyone's okay. And I'm thrilled to be here for it, man. This is one of those days that, like, we're going to remember for the rest of our lives.
I hope everybody's Safu, but me, I'm laughing.
How could you not?
I mean, it's insane, dude. We got a Do Kwon Up Only appearance. We got a Suzu GM. This is as wild as things will get. Actually, I mean, not even true. Like, not even true. Like, the last 6 months have been so ridiculous. The last 9, this whole year has been so ridiculous. Just blow up after blow up. Like, if you had told anybody at the beginning of the year that Luna will go to 0 and FTX might go to 0, like all within 12 months, like, who would take that bet? That's the worst parlay of all time. You gotta ask Anurag what kind of odds he'll give us on the Do Kwon to 0 and SBF to 0 underdog parlay of the week.
Now the underdog parlay is something along the lines of does Do Kwon make a comeback?
Yes. I mean, did you see his tweet 4 days ago? He was like, fuck it, I'm gonna host a meetup/conference. Every cop across the world is invited. Show up if you dare. Oh my god. Oh man. So
where on earth is this man? I mean, the rumor is he's in Europe or something.
Well, let's turn off the stream and go over to Up Only. We'll find out.
Yeah, fuck this podcast. We're going Up Only.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll be back in a few days to cover more of this and get into our next deep dive. Thanks for listening. Till next time, stay decent.
None of this was financial advice, legal advice, investment advice, or any other kind of advice. If you're looking for advice, you are definitely in the wrong place. Until next time, stay decent.